You are now listening to Vigilantes Radio, presented by the Only One Media Group. This is the people's choice for quality interviews, celebrities, and special guests. Hosted by Demetrius Dinny Reynolds. Call in to join the mix at 701-801-9813. For the complete archive of episodes, visit onlyonemediagroup.com and be sure to like us on Facebook at Vigilantes Radio. We welcome all. Enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Demetrius Houdini Black Reynolds. Enjoy the show.
At dollarseed.com, all of our seeds are only $1 a pack. And we have online resources that teach you all about the rewarding hobby of growing your own plants, flowers, herbs, and vegetables. Imagine the joy you'll feel when your children actually help you harvest your first garden crop, or the pride of knowing you'll never need a florist again. Visit dollarseed.com and grow a little magic of your own for just $1. Dollarseed.com. What could be healthier?
Hello, hello, hello. What is going on, guys? Welcome to another incredible episode of Vigilantes Radio Live right here on iHeartRadio. And I'm your host, Deanie. We have a very special guest, another one, so you should definitely stick around for that. And as a matter of fact, text your family members, your friends, or even share it on social media right now and let them know that we are about to dive deep into another interview. Before I bring my guest on, I do want to say, unless you are free to let something go, it is not really yours. It does not belong to you. You belong to it. And why are you keeping all that old junk in your attic? Is it because you're afraid to be without it? Why are you clinging to your outdated assumptions, your anger for things that have long since passed? Your need to control every detail. I don't know, sometimes as people, I think we are like collector of things, you know? We just like to have things. Doesn't matter what that thing is, it's just a collection of things, right? Just think how much more free you would be without them. Imagine not having to move them aside every time you wanted to accomplish something. The richness of your life is based not on how much you have, but on how little you need. And many of those things that you think you need, you don't. Imagine what it would be like to be the richest person in the world, you know, to be so rich that you don't need anything. It'd be hard to get, to decide, man, what should I get my dad for Father's Day? He has everything. What do you get a man that has everything? All right. The fact is, you don't have to imagine. You can live that reality and enjoy that freedom anytime you choose. Not by getting more, but by needing less. And letting go does not mean giving up, nor does it mean abandoning the good things in your life. What it means is freeing yourself from the need to cling. Lighten your load, loosen your grip, and let your life flow. Let go and free yourself to live with richness and joy. Take that from me, Coach Deanie. That is my word, and word is bond.
Have you struggled budgeting your finances? Don't worry, you're not alone. HumbledBudget.com, that's HumbledBudget.com, is the help and resource you've been searching for. HumbledBudget.com is a personal finance and educational website with a great variety of topics when it comes to budgeting, taxes, investing, and the popular topic of FIRE, financial independence, retire early. HumbledBudget.com has a goal, and that's to help you reach your financial dreams, no matter what your goals are when it comes to finances. It doesn't matter where you start, where you come from, or where you are right now. HumbledBudget.com can help. What are you waiting for? Take that first step to the financial life you've dreamed of and go to HumbledBudget.com. That's HumbledBudget. HumbledBudget.com.
All right. Again, welcome to the show. You're listening to VRL, That's Vigilantes Radio Live right here on iHeartRadio. And I'm your host, Adini. Our interviews are designed to go beyond the music, news, books, art, acting, films, technology, education, entrepreneurship, entertainment, and sometimes even past that thing that we call the ego. Our interviews are designed to go behind the scenes and into the minds of these incredible human beings. You know, the ones who are out there giving it their all for me, for you, and for the world. Welcome to Vigilantes Radio. I'm thrilled to have the talented, multifaceted Ranelle Golden with us today. She is an award-winning director, screenwriter, producer, and author, and Ranelle's creative journey is nothing short of extraordinary. Her contributions to the world of music, writing, television, and film have left an unforgettable mark. So get ready to dive into the mind of a true industry powerhouse as we explore the art of storytelling and the magic of movie making. Oh, yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and welcome her to the show. Hello. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
I am super excited to be here talking to you tonight. I was just listening to your words of wisdom, and I was blown away by them because they're so real, so true.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm a victim of that myself, just collecting things, you know. It could be...
Yes, and we can't take them with us. We don't need them.
Right.
But then again, we do, right?
Yeah. Where would we be without our things, right?
Yeah. I love that, though.
Yeah. So before
I'm going to go clean the closet right now. Sorry.
All right. So before we dive into your remarkable achievements and learning about the why and the how, let's start at the beginning, the genesis, and learn about the who. So give us a peek into your beginnings.
Oh, gosh. In a nutshell, very... I grew up in the music business. My mother was an entertainer. And, long story short, it was kind of a hard life. And then she left it. And somehow I found my way into the music business when I was young. I wanted nothing more than to, write songs and be that thing. Then, back in the day, I don't want to date myself for how old I am, but, in the 80s, 90s, it was a little different than it is now to make your mark. And I ended up meeting someone and choosing, kind of had to make that choice of family over, dreams. And then something led me full circle, and just fast forward without all the trauma and stuff, I ended up moving around the United States, came back where I started in Florida and opened a performing arts school. So I didn't get my career, as a musician, but I got that, which I absolutely loved it. I had it for 4+ years, and I had about 400 students. And then, they were learning all the things that I loved, from musical theater to, every kind of instrument you could imagine we had going on there. And then I woke up one day and I had lost part of my vision. And I went, long story short, I had to close the school and I went blind. And in that process, my daughter, who was a teenager at the time, was like, she couldn't bear to see me sitting around feeling sorry for myself. And she hooked me up on Facebook, of all places. And I met someone else that was in a writer's group. She put me in this writer's group, and I got to know this person who was also going through crap. I'll try not to cuss, but going through a lot in their life. And they're like, let's be miserable together. And before you know it, my path to becoming a screenwriter, almost 14, 15 years now, was launched. And I also found a doctor that restored a big chunk of my vision, and they decided I wasn't terminal after all, and blindness is not a death sentence. And so it was all good, right? I found my calling. And from there, it was very quickly, we had written a bunch of feature films. I wrote a TV series, and I was like, what do I do now? And we raised a little money, and it was like, well, let's put together our first film to sort of highlight what our writing can bring to the screen. And the director I hired to do this did not show up. And it turned out to be this weird blessing in disguise, because I happened to have, just by sheer luck, someone that was bored, who had won daytime Emmys, was there for my camera team. And I'm like, what do I do now? Do I cancel the whole thing? And he was like, no, you're going to do it. You know this story. I'm going to walk you through it. And that, from there, between writing and directing and putting this first film together, I was hooked. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is in my blood. And I actually found something I love more than music. Because, giving up that music was that was like giving up who I was. And this put me back on this path of finding my purpose. Because I'm one of those people that, to get up in the morning, I need purpose. Whether it's my children or my art and my craft. And from there, I was taking classes and making movie after movie, and here we are 15 years later. Since 2019, I've been involved in 5 feature films and tons of shorts and, a series, and this year we're going to AFM, and, the whole thing came full circle, and I've met amazing people. I can't say that I'm where I want to be, but I'm certainly blessed with being able to do what I call dreaming in action, which, action is making a movie. Dreaming is, what you are hoping to do. And by action, I make it happen. And I love it. I really do. And that kind of brings you to now, where I'm old, but I'm doing what I dream.
Old? No. Old is
No, not that old. I mean, I'm in my 50s. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Just don't ask my kids, because they're grown up now, so, But, yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell, though, and lots of amazing things, and I wrote a few books in the process, and now in 2019, my son, when he turned 19, became my writing partner. So we released some feature films last year, and one of them, he was actually my writing partner on.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's crazy. We don't write the sex scenes, though, with my son.
That would be weird, right?
That would be so weird, yeah.
Okay, son, leave the room.
Yeah, leave the room, because it's got to be in there to make it interesting. But, we'll skip that part.
All right. So, can you share a pivotal moment or experience that really ignited your passion for filmmaking? So,
well, the biggest pivotal moment, it was kind of by accident, because I was easily ignited to write and become a screenwriter and, take those classes and become educated and, do that. But the actual filmmaking part was scary. And it probably was that moment when the people I had paid and hired didn't show up for that very first film. And it was just a proof of concept for a screenplay. But there was something about it when I was able to get on set and direct people to bring to life what I had written and to actually hear it and feel it. And my first film that I did was a drama. And then there was no turning back, because what unfolded was telling a story that, you see it on paper, but then you have this amazing talent that bring it to life. And it was sort of all-encompassing. It wasn't like one in particular thing. It was the whole thing. I had produced it. I had directed it. And, I had imposter syndrome at first, but actually making it so and eventually claiming it and saying, this is who I am, and then building my education and my experience behind it to actually feel like, yeah, this is who I am. And I've gone on to not only do my own stuff, but help many other people. And I write now for lots of people. I tell their stories.
Wow. So you mentioned getting over the imposter syndrome. I think that, wow. How did you do it?
That took a little bit of time, because, I was always taught you have to kind of earn your stripes. So writing one screenplay wasn't enough. Writing 2 wasn't enough. But then when we got more and I started to put it out there in the world, and we started through film festivals and things like that, and I started, winning awards and getting recognized for the work and the teams that we would put together. And something just happened one day, because I'm like, I was probably 3 or 4 years in, and I'm like, I have to change how I speak to myself and how I describe who I am, because I want this to be a career. At a certain point, I realized this is not a hobby. This is not for fun. This is what my career is going to be. And I had to change my self-talk. I had to change my dialogue. And I would honestly tell anyone else who is entering into, these creative fields, whether you have, an education in it or not, because nowadays you can do amazing things even without it. You have to claim it. You have to say that this is what you are, and you have to believe in yourself. And it took a little bit of, convincing. And even now, as I mentor people and I help people tell their stories, sometimes, they'll come to me and be like, Ranelle, can you tell this type of story? And it'll be a very personal story, and then it'll be a true story. Like, I just finished this story called Bulletproof, and it's about a woman who, she dealt with unspeakable violence, and after this amazing marriage to, big bucks, lived all over the world, and then she was left with nothing. And I had to tell her story, and I was just like, are you sure I should be the one to do it? And in the end, her story is very amazing, because she just rose back up from the ashes and went and recorded an album at the Tough Gong in Jamaica, the Bob Marley studios out there, and released an album. And, I don't think she's quite as old as I am, but she's starting her life over. And I was honored to tell her story and do it beautifully. And now it's getting shopped, and there's some studios interested. And I'm like, wow. I'm just in awe that, somebody trusted me with that kind of thing. And I am who I say I am. But it takes a lot of, it took a lot for me to get there. And now I know what I'm capable of. And I hope to make other people realize what they're capable of.
Yes, indeed. So you have a lot of superpowers, from writing screenplays to producing TV pilots, features. How do you balance all of these creative endeavors and manage it effectively?
Okay, well, the effective part can be shaky sometimes. But honestly, what helps is that, my children are grown, and this is all I do in life, are these entertainment industry type jobs. And when you actually head into production, it's really important that you are only doing one film at a time until until you've got it in the can. When I'm not in production, then, I have multiple things that I'm out there working on and trying to push. But that is a challenge to do. And I think that's something that we all sort of struggle with, but it's really important that you get up every day and you take a step towards, the end goal. Some days you take 10, some days you take 2, but, my philosophy is always move forward. It's kind of a marathon, not a sprint, as they say. And within that, it's endurance. I really don't quite know how to articulate it, but it's definitely sticking with it. And there have been times where, I've stepped back and said, okay, I need a break. And I've taken, 6 months off or something, because things happen. I had a TV show we were working on, and it walked the red carpet in Cannes for MIPCOM, not the big film festival, and it went beautifully, but someone we were working with wanted all of the content, 13 episodes that I had written, and I had to hire lawyers, and I had to, do a lot of stuff to make sure that my IP stayed with me, because they wanted to take everything and have like power of attorney. And, you go through these mammoth experiences that sort of drain you. And so during that time was probably when I wrote my 2 children's books that are out there, and, kind of switched gears so I could breathe a little bit, because that was sort of traumatic, but I was younger in the experience of getting out there and starting to make things.
Yeah. So you hear about things like that happening to like big studios or people like that, and never like someone trying to take your work as you're coming up. I'm sure
it's tough because, I'm the little guy, and, I don't necessarily have the bucks at the time to go out there and hire these lawyers and fight those fights. And I'm the little guy, but at the same time, it was very important to me that, right is right, and I'm going to treat you correctly, and I would expect the same, respect. But it was somebody that was signed on to co-produce with us, and I sent everybody to France. I didn't go because I figured, our girls that were in the show that we had filmed, our proof of concept, they should be the face that people see representing the show, and budgets are limited. And that's when the other person, they had the budget to go, this other producer. That's when they lay it on you. Here's the contracts, here's this, here's that. And by the way, all those girls are fired, and I want your content, and I'm going to make it over there. And, it was a real eye-opening to the ugly side of the business. But the end thing is telling stories is what matters. So, when you find those people through the years that are worth keeping on your team and, have similar value system that you have, those are the ones you keep. And so it was a huge learning lesson for me. But I did have to take a breather. It was kind of sad at the same time. So
I could imagine. So right now you have about 10 titles in production where you are credited as the writer, producer, and director. So how do you maintain your creative spark and, able to keep generating fresh and compelling story ideas?
So, I was a songwriter before I became a screenwriter. So the music, there's always something in you that, a story to tell. So the storytelling is the easy part. You throw, like when I used to tuck my kids into bed, I'd be like, give me 2 objects and 1 character. And we would make up a story on the fly. Don't do that to me today. Or you can if you want. But we would come up with a story. So that's the easy part. The hard part is the business side of being creative. And, that's the side that's a little bit draining because it often takes more time than the storytelling, if that makes sense. So the writing and all that just flows. I almost never have writer's block unless it's a subject matter that's so intense I have to, take a breather. And that does happen with people's true stories because it's hard. It's difficult in knowing them and knowing what they went through. Sometimes I do have to take, a few days away. But the business side, it's the harder part. And, being a filmmaker, obviously this is the biggest challenge for most of us that are in the indie realm is finding investors. So, we have different ones. I have a huge music project I want to do that I'm dreaming of Jeremy Rayner because he actually is a musician and he released the most amazing music in 2020. And it's about an aging rock star. And I'm like, how do I make that happen? How do I get on his doorstep? So I haven't quite figured all that out because, money talks. So that's something I'm dealing with. But then I have a beautiful Christmas film that's a rom-com I'm making at the end of the year. And that's more reasonable. We're just raising a smaller amount of money. And I am indie. It's non-union for this one, but the other one's union. So I wouldn't want to touch anybody during these strikes and the things that are going on in the world, because that's my dream. I want to become WGA. I want to become, the DG, the Directors Guild, the producer. I want to achieve all of that, so I have to respect what they're going through. But we have this little indie film, and it is a balancing act, and you have to decide. This is the part that, we had to come to terms with during COVID. We have to decide what's the most viable and what's the most logical to get our money back for our investors when we're determining what we're going to do first. And that often is tried and true. We released last year, we had released Harvey, which is like a thriller. It's not really horror, it's a thriller, but it falls in those genres that sell well, that people love, to do. And now I'm doing a Christmas rom-com. So I haven't figured that out well enough to have a tried and true balance yet, but that is kind of where the balance falls, is what's best for the investors, and that helps you make decisions.
Absolutely. So you also have a podcast. You just do it all.
Yes. Well, that's because I love talking to people like you. You can tell I'm a talker. I do listen sometimes, though, I promise. Yeah.
It's your show. The podcast is called the Movie Making Podcast. And I had an opportunity to check out some of your episodes. Very engaging. I love it. And,
thank you.
Yes. Do you have any favorite or inspiring conversations that you've had so far?
Oh my gosh, I've had so many. I talked to one of the people I talked to was Chris Mulkey, and he's been around forever, and he was married to an actress. She passed away in 2014, but he was a delight, and he also turned out to be a musician, and I think I was going fangirl over the fact that he was a musician because I listened to all of his music beforehand. And he was probably one of my favorites to talk to because he was just so down to earth, and he was sharing his experience. And that's kind of what I do in life, not just with the podcast, but in general. Like, I have this saying, we rise by lifting others. Well, if we can share what we've been through or what we know, it could empower somebody else when it comes to getting their business going, whether it's a podcast or a movie or, a musician that's going to tour or something. And he was delightful. And then I have to say probably my all-time favorite, which this one's silly, but I have a friend who I knew in high school, and I was his magician's assistant in high school. And you know how we all have these dreams when we're young, and we don't always make them come true? He made his come true, and he has performed all around the world for multiple presidents, prime ministers, like you just name it. And he was traveling and called me from some airport, God knows where, in the middle of the night, and we just talked, and that was like my third show. Wow. And he's a magician, and he was an actor, and this and that, and he's in commercials. He lives in Japan now, and that's probably my favorite because I actually know somebody that had a dream and made their dreams come true, if that makes sense. He knew what he wanted from the time he was 8 years old. Who does that?
Only superheroes, right?
Exactly. Yes, I think so. Yeah.
That's incredible.
So,
yeah.
Thank you.
In your opinion, what makes a great film?
Story. No matter what the genre is, the story has to have characters that the viewers can relate to, that they can see themselves as, see themselves in, and there should always be elements in your storyline that, for me, when I watch a movie, whether it's Marvel or a drama or something, I need to be able to put myself in some of those characters' shoes. Like, oh my God, I would totally say that dumb thing if I were doing that. Or, I'd be the person that trips on their own feet. Or, those are silly examples, but something that's real that you can see yourself as. And I love stories that don't just have like one star, but sort of have an ensemble of characters or very strong supporting characters, because it gives the viewers more people to attach to. And I even like to show a bit about my bad guys so that you kind of understand them. That first film I made, I keep coming back to, is called Saving Amy, and the whole concept was pulled off of a news show in the UK, because the first writing partner I ever had was in the UK, and a serial arsonist, a young one, set this building on fire because he had issues with the family that lived above it, and below was a florist shop. And there was a child in a crib and another child that was sharing a room with them, and the child in the crib, well, everyone had gotten out of the building but the two sisters, and the one child couldn't get the other child out of the crib. It was a very sad story, and the dad had to make the decision for the daughter, you know, that was awake and alert, and I imagine the other one had already passed away from smoke, but had to jump out of the window, and they had to, you know, make that awful, awful decision. So I did all this research, and we hypothesized what would happen when that girl that couldn't save her sister grew up. But we also went back and we studied, you know, who are these arsonists, and found out there's multiple types. There's like the hero type that sets the fire to be able to put it out. There's the person that's abused, and, you know, they're just, you know, trying to, there's just something in them. And like, there's 3 different kinds. And anyway, so we showed in our story, you will feel something for that arsonist because you're understanding that he was a child of abuse, and he was severely abused. And, you know, we went back and built his story. And then this young girl, we grew her up. It's about a female firefighter, obviously. We grew her up to fight those fires that took her sister's life, and she always felt guilty of not being able to save her sister. But then her path crosses with this arsonist who grew up, and he's still doing it. So it's, you know, there's people you can relate to, whether you were a victim of abuse or you lost someone, you know, that you loved, or, you know, or you're carrying that hurt and anger at yourself inside that you really shouldn't be. So we try to build those type of things.
Yeah. And I have to give you your flowers for your inclusive and diverse writing. I've seen some titles in your catalog, you know, with Black.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah. And not many people can do that, you know, write for different.
I try to get everybody. So my
cool.
children, my children are, they are from half Indian and half, you know, I'm a mutt. I'm everything, Irish, Scottish, you know, but their father is from India. So, you know, when I look at the world, I want to get everybody in there. And, you know, that's really important to me. And I want to do it in a way that just sort of honors everybody, and we're not, we're all just there, and we're a part of the important story, no matter who we are, if that makes sense.
It does. So looking ahead, what are some goals or projects, collaborations that you are excited about for the future?
So I had just finished the screenplay Bulletproof. I'm so excited about that one, and there's some possible big studio looking at it. But they have invited me to come back and help with her. She wants to make her second album, Bulletproof 2. And it's kind of world music. It's an interesting mix, and she's writing it now. And I'm like, I'm not sure I'm the right person for this, but I would love to be in a recording studio again, just to hear the music and, you know, feel it kind of, you know, pulsing through your veins. And she has an amazing team, and we're going to make that in Miami. I think it's called Inner Circle or something. The studio's down there, but that's something. And then, you know, I have this one movie I really want to make, and I was not kidding about Jeremy Renner, if I could ever pull it off. But that's kind of a long-term goal. And then I have a trilogy that's like Harry Potter, and so I plan to, I need to write book 2 and book 3, and there's just a lot. And, you know, my son is in college, but I keep stealing him away to write with me, because much of what I write, including Rock Slide, which, you know, is the film I just mentioned, he wrote that with me, and that's won like 18 writing awards and a bunch of runner-ups and things like that. It's a great I sound like I'm bragging, but it's a great script, and I'm so proud of it because it's the first feature film I wrote with him. And so that, I don't want to cry because the mom in me wants to cry, but I love that, and that's really important that I get that made at some point. It's like a bucket list film maybe, and I want it to be made no matter what. So if I don't make it, that's fine, but I can get someone else to make it. I'm cool with that too. I might write the lyrics if maybe they would let me. I don't know.
That would be incredible. Where can our listeners connect with you and be in the know when you release projects?
So most everything is under my name, Ranelle Golden, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, it's all under my name. And then the podcast is under moviemakingpodcast.com, and it has the links to all the stations that are on there. We just started in April, and I've been really blessed to talk to some amazing people, and amazing people like you. You're amazing, so maybe you want to come talk to me. Because I was going back and listening to the Bone Thugs and Harmony too, because I loved that stuff. I think Crossroads might have been my favorite, but I don't want anyone to know how old I am, so no.
Yeah, well, we are on tour now. Probably.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Probably for the
Are you
next
coming to Florida?
year. We do have some Florida dates.
That is awesome. Oh, wow. I will keep a lookout.
All right,
That
I'll
is
send
cool.
It to you. I'll send you the schedule.
Yes, do that. I'll tell everybody. I love that. So cool. I'm sorry, I'm going into my talk mode. Did you guys write new music?
Well, we
are
are
you performing your classics? Or?
They are. But we're currently working on something new, a passion project that kind of will incorporate some audio drama. So I'm really excited about that. And,
that's cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool. Oh, yeah, I can't wait to see that. Oh, wow. I love that. Very cool. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. That's nice. Sorry, I get excited.
Thank you. Well, it gets me excited too. It was a pleasure, Ranelle, having you here on the show tonight.
Thank you.
I thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you. Have a great night. I hope we talk soon.
All right, will do. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, my Vigilantes family, as always, for checking out my podcast over here at Vigilantes Radio Live. All episodes are available for free download, and you can grab it from either Spreaker.com/Only One Media Group, Spotify, Castbox, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, the app Podcast Addict, or over at our website, which again is onlyonemediagroup.com, and that goes for every single show that we've ever aired. If you like to request music or send something for me to play, email it to vradio@onlyonemediagroup.com. That is V as in Victor. And here's my disclaimer: we are genre free, we do not judge, and we absolutely do not base our opinions on hearsay but facts alone. And actually, scratch all of that, because all of my opinions are always right. That's the bottom line. This is my show, so deal with it. Just kidding. On behalf of myself, Denny, I appreciate all you guys for tuning in, either afterwards or live with us. Spread the word, because sharing is caring. We stepped up our game just for you guys and our guests to make sure that you have the best experience here on our show. Be sure to connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, Snapchat, TikTok, at all social media sites, as well as Spreaker, YouTube. We always follow back. Okay, well, just remember to put yourself into everything that you do and never stop investing in yourself. Peace, love, grilled cheese, and talk with you later.
You are now listening to Vigilantes Radio, the people's choice for quality interviews, art, music, and hot topics. Hosted by Demetrius Houdini Black Reynolds of the duo No Longer the Hero. All episodes of this podcast are available for free download at www.onlyonemediagroup.com. This is a Seventh Sign Regime Rebirth Worldwide Syndicate exclusive.